of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is trying to convince Arjun that it is the best for you, Arjun, to keep doing your duties, your prescribed duties. In the shlok previous to this, Yad Yat Acharti Shreshthas, Krishna said, Arjun, the way leaders like you behave in the society, the common men will follow you. In the shloka before that, he gave the example of Janak Maharaj. He said, Janak Maharaj was a completely pure devotee. He was Atmaram. He did not need to do any duties, but still he performed all his duties just to set a role model for his subjects. So what does Krishna go on to say here? Now, what we see here is that Krishna actually gives his own example to Arjun, and what could be a better example? Let us see. But first let's say the praise to our Gurudev and our Acharyas. Om Agyanitimirandhasya Gyananjan Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. What transcendental sound, what magical sound is this, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. The magic mantra, the prescribed medicine to remove all the diseases of the mind, body and soul for the Kali Yuga. Practice and see how magical it is. So today's shloka is being spoken by Krishna in continuation to the previous shlokas, in the pursuing theme that Krishna is trying to convince Arjun to keep carrying on karma yoga or his own duties. So let's speak the shloka first. That says, Na me parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana vaptam avaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. So Krishna is saying, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. Now you see, Krishna is saying that it's not that I have something to obtain by performing the duties. And see me, Arjun, still I am doing all my duties. For what? To set a role model. And therefore it becomes essential for leaders like you who follow in my footsteps to become role models for the subjects. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada first of all quotes a very beautiful shloka, in fact, two of them from Shvetashvatar Upanishad 6.7, 6.8. That goes like, now this is beautiful, so I must read it out and let's see what this would mean, So this says, Tam Ishvaranam Paramam Maheshwaram Tam Devatanam Paramam Cha Daivatam Patim Patinam Paramam Parastad Vidam Devam Bhuvanesham Idyam Na Tasya Karyam Karanam Cha Vidyate Na Tat Samash Cha Bhyadhikash Cha Drishyate Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Svabhaviki Gyan Bal Kriya Cha. Now, this is so beautiful, This is the shloka that Srila Prabhupada mostly explains with the reference to this shloka spoken by Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada convinces us through the shloka that Krishna's position is so unique. He is the supreme controller of all controllers, and still, even though he is beyond everything, still he is giving his own example. So we will understand through Srila Prabhupada's purports. Now, Srila Prabhupada actually first of all makes this point here that to understand that why Krishna is saying even I am doing the duties. So what is meant by that? Because you see, as we discussed some other session, that sometimes the big shot of a company, maybe the CEO or the owner, sometimes follows all the rules and regulations followed by what he expects the employees to follow. Why? Just to set the example, although he does not in the least need to do that. So Srila Prabhupada starts by explaining the shloka, in which he first says that the Supreme Lord is the controller of all controllers. Now what do we mean by that? Now Ishvara, the word Ishvara means controller. Now we know that there are many controllers, many kind of Ishvaras. There are mini Ishvaras. We are also mini Ishvaras, or let's say micro Ishvaras, because we have also a little control over certain things. But our control is very tiny. But the Devatas have more control than us. They are bigger controllers than us. They are bigger Ishvaras. But Krishna is the Param Ishvara, because the word or the Upadhi Parameshwar is only used for Krishna. You see, so he is the controller of all controllers. That's his position, and he is the greatest of all diverse planetary leaders. The planetary leaders refers to the deities of the various grihas that we understand through astrology. We know of the Shani Dev, we know of the Brihaspati, we know of so many different grihas. And many times, people just keep trying to satisfy the grihas, through various karma kandas. But what is to be understood is that of all these planetary leaders, the greatest is Krishna. They all bow down to Krishna. Everyone is under his control. All entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord. So this is a point worth reflecting, that whatever power, whatever talents anyone has actually been given to them by Krishna. If Indra is the king of heaven, if Surya Dev is the king of the sun planet, it is so because they are actually subordinates of Krishna, and Krishna has given them that power. So you see, ultimately the supreme power rests with Krishna, and none of these subordinates like the demigods, the devatas, are supreme in themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods and is the supreme director of all directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. And this actually comes up in so many Vedic texts. Supreme leaders like Brahma, Shiva, they all worship Krishna, as is the beautiful set of prayers rendered to him by Lord Brahma. The Lord Brahma sings the Brahma Samhita in praise of Krishna, singing glories of Krishna. Such beautiful prayers sung by Brahmaji. So ultimately all of these demigods worship Krishna only, and there is no one greater than him. He is the supreme cause of all causes. This means that, you see, every event has a cause, right? There is a cause and there is an effect. Now looking at the effect, we might go behind the effect and see that there must have been a cause for that effect. But when we go behind that cause, we see another remoter cause. But when we keep going back, we ultimately reach Krishna, because ultimately the supreme cause behind every event is Krishna only. It's because Krishna is wanting things to happen that way. That is the reason why the things are happening that way. That is Krishna's position. He does not possess a bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. What actually is meant by this is that he is Advaitam. We have a material body and we have a spirit soul inside. There is a difference between our body and our soul. When someone passes away, then this material body is left here only. The soul moves on to acquire another body. But there is no difference between the body and so-called soul of Krishna. It's the same. So he doesn't have a body like ours, made up of blood, bones. Well, if you just strip the skin off this body, you will see how ugly the human body looks, or for that matter, the body of any living organism looks from inside, But Krishna's body is not like that. It's not made up of blood and gore and bones and flesh and muscle. Krishna's body is made up of pure Sat, Chit and Anand. And there is no difference between his body and his soul. He is Advaitam. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. His senses are not like our senses, His eyes are not like our eyes. His ears are not like our ears. He is the master of our senses, but his senses are transcendental, which means divine, beyond this material world. Any one of his senses, now Srila Prabhupada is explaining this part of the shloka, what is meant by transcendental senses. It actually means that his senses, any one of his senses can perform the function of the other senses. That sounds a little difficult to understand. We can only see through our eyes, right? We can only hear through our ears, right? We can eat only through our mouth, the tongue, taste through our tongue only. Can we taste through our eyes? Can we taste through our ears? We can't do that. But Krishna can do that. When we offer prasadam to Krishna, bhoga rather, it becomes prasadam after Krishna has accepted the bhoga. So we should say, when we offer the bhoga to Krishna, you must have seen that, being done somewhere, in some of the kirtans, if you have visited, the food is kept in front of the deities, the vigrahas or the murtis, and we draw a curtain and we chant certain mantras and we invoke Krishna to partake of the meal, to, take the bhoga. Now, after a few minutes, we take the food away, saying that now this is prasadam, because it's being tasted by Krishna. Well, did Krishna really taste it? Did he really sit down, put the food into his mouth through his hands, taste it through his tongue? No, he doesn't do it that way. So what does he do? He actually can taste food through his eyes, So, although it might be a little difficult for us to understand this, if you have heard this somewhere, people who are blind since birth, they have very sharpened or heightened senses, other of the senses like hearing, for example, it becomes very sharp. In fact, hearing kind of compensates for the lack of vision. Now, if that can happen to mere humans like us, why is it difficult for us to understand that Krishna, who is so powerful, has such transcendental senses that he can perform the function of one sense through the other senses, any of his other senses, right? So there is no one who is greater than him or equal to him. There is a word used in this context in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is called Asam Urdhava, which means no one is equal to him or greater than him. So this is a word, this is a name given only to Krishna and none of the other demigods. Now, his potencies are multifarious and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Beautiful. This is a line quoted by Srila Prabhupada so many times, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate, which means that Krishna has so many different energies and powers that we can't even dream of, we can't even think of, beyond our wildest imagination. And all the deeds that he needs to do, all the work that he needs to do, that they just happen out of a natural sequence. He just has to think about something happening, he just has to desire something happening, and so many energies that he has will automatically do all those tasks for him. There are so many Shaktis that he has. One of them is called the Satya Sankalpa Shakti, which means that no sooner than he thinks of something to be done, the Satya Sankalpa Shakti, who is standing like a maid servant somewhere near Krishna, that lest Krishna should think of something to do, I will just rush and get it done. So the Satya Sankalpa Shakti immediately comes into action and completes the task. Krishna doesn't even have to lift his eyebrow. He just has to think about it. That's how easy it is for Krishna to perform the most magnanimous Herculean tasks. He just has to think about creating a universe. It will be created by his Satya Sankalpa Shakti, which is only one of his countless Shaktis. So these two shlokas from Shvetashvatara Upanishad tells us about the position of Krishna, who Krishna is actually. He's so powerful, he's so transcendental, and still Krishna is saying that, oh Partha. Now you see, Krishna calls Arjun by different names, sometimes Dhananjay, sometimes Anagha, different names. And here Krishna is referring to him as Partha, a name that we have all heard. Now, where does the word Partha come from? It comes from Pritha. Pritha is the name of Mother Kunti. Now, he says, Arjun, who is the son of my aunt, my Bua, Kunti, listen to me. So, why is he using this specific name here? Because Krishna is saying that you come from a wonderful lineage, Arjun, you are coming from a great family and you are related to me, because Pritha is my aunt and you are her son, right? So since you are so close to me, let me give you a more intimate example, to prove that why we need to do our new duties. That's the reason Krishna calls Arjun Parth in this shloka. And we see also that Arjun also calls Krishna by different names, and each of the names that he uses in a particular shloka has a significance. It is for a reason that that particular name is being used. We'll keep seeing that as we come to them. But now Srila Prabhupada says, since everything is in full opulence in personality of Godhead and is existing in full truth, there is no duty for Supreme Personality of Godhead to perform. Well, looking at who Krishna really is and how he performs every task just by wishing them to happen, there is actually nothing to be done by him. Now, there is a very important point here, Why are there prescribed duties for us? Why Krishna has given the Vedas to us to understand that if we are a teacher, if we are the Brahmin class, we need to perform these prescribed duties. This is your duty, you should do this, right? So, we need to understand why is there no duty for Krishna, God, or for his devotees. There is no duty. There is no duty to be performed by them. But we can ask why? If there is a duty for us to perform, then why no duties for Krishna or his pure devotees? Well, the answer lies in the fact, as the desire so the duty. Now, we living in this material world have so many different desires to fulfill. We need this, we want that, so many things to gratify our senses, so many things we want to enjoy in this world. So Krishna says that if you want to enjoy this material world, you need to do that in a regulated manner, and therefore there are duties for you to perform, so that you don't fall into the trap of bad karma and keep coming back here again and again and fall down maybe into hellish planets, into hells. So Krishna has given us the prescribed duties because we have desires to fulfill. But Krishna doesn't have any desire to fulfill. He doesn't desire anything. As he says, nor am I in want of everything, nor have I a need to obtain everything, which means I don't have a desire to fulfill. I don't desire anything in this material world, and I don't need anything from this material world. So we need to do the duties because we need to fulfill our desires, or we have a need for something. We need to fulfill our needs. So since Krishna has no desires, no needs, he doesn't need to perform any duty for that matter. And similarly, the pure devotees of Krishna, they are free of all desires, because what are they doing? They're actually reveling. They're self-realized. They are reveling in the bliss of their soul and reveling in the bliss of being in contact with Krishna, in contact with God. They have established that connection with God, and therefore all the pleasure that they need to seek is coming from inside, by the contact of the soul with the Paramatma or the super soul or Krishna. So therefore they do not seek any pleasures outside. Therefore there is no duty for them also. But what is Krishna saying here? That even if you are a pure devotee, sometimes Arjun, if you are in a certain position as a Kshatriya, you need to perform your duty so that the others will follow your example, right? So Arjun, of course, is a pure devotee. He doesn't need to perform duties like Krishna, but still Krishna is advising. So he says, as in the previous shlokas, he is given the example of Janak, that Janak was a pure devotee. He did not need to do the duties, and still he did the duties. Similarly, Arjun, you are also a pure devotee. Do not need to do the duties, but do them anyway, because see, I am also doing them, although I don't need to do all these duties. And by giving his personal example, he is trying to convince Arjun, then this is how we must follow in the footsteps of the previous great devotees like Janak. So Srila Prabhupada further writes, one who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one who has nothing to achieve within the three planetary systems certainly has no duty. You must have many times heard this, the Tino Lok, the three planetary systems. Actually our universe has innumerable planets, lots of planets. Let's not go by the modern scientists, so many planets and so many one star, that is the sun. The Vedic concept of the Brahmand is way beyond the modern scientists. If you want to read about this, please read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 5 gives such a wonderful deep detail of the structure of our universe. So it is mentioned and it is explained there that our Brahmand or universe has 3 levels of planetary systems: the lower planets, the Patals, that is the middle planets including our earth, and the higher planetary systems, which include the Swargalok, the Siddhalok, the Janalok, the Maharlok, the Taplok, and the Brahmalok or the Satyalok, which is the highest planet. So there are so many planetary systems, but majority, we say we can classify all these planetary systems into 3 major planetary systems: the lower, the middle, and the upper planetary systems. So Krishna says that in all the planetary systems I don't desire anything, I don't have any desires in this material world, so no duties for me, right? And yet Lord Krishna is engaged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as the leader of the Kshatriyas, because Kshatriyas are duty bound to give protection to the distressed. It is the duty of the Kshatriya to uphold the dharma, to relieve the distress of those who are in distress. So it is the duty of the Kshatriya. If a Kshatriya sees anybody being tortured, then his blood will immediately start to boil and he will go to the defense of that person. That's the duty of a Kshatriya. Now, although he is above all regulations of the revealed scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. So Srila Prabhupada says that although there is nothing that he needs to do, he is above all the Vedic scriptures. The Vedas have actually come from him only. He himself has spoken the Vedas and he is above the Vedas. But still, he never does anything which goes against the Vedic scriptures, so that people will follow his example. When he was, we all know the story of his birth. He was shifted from the prison in Mathura to Gokul, where Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj brought him up in the Vaishya community. Nanda Maharaj belonged to the Vaishya community, and the Vaishya community has the prescribed duty of doing business and of cow protection, cow rearing and cow protection. So Krishna, when he was a child in Vrindavan, he used to go for Gocharan, which means he used to take all the 9 lakh cows owned by Nanda Maharaj along with Balaram and all his Gopa friends. He used to go every day to the forests of Vrindavan and Govardhan, and he used to tend to his cows. So he is, although God, supreme personality of Godhead, he is full in opulences. He is so rich we can't even imagine. And still, when he lives in the community of the Vaishyas, he does the duty of the Vaishyas of rearing the cows. Well, he does that in Golok Vrindavan also, in the spiritual world, because he loves the cows. But when he goes back to Devaki and Vasudev after 11 years of his Leelas in Vrindavan, then he starts to play the role of a Kshatriya. He fights. He fought so many wars. He put an end to so many irreligious people who were threatening dharma. So he performed his duties perfectly. In fact, how he performed the duties of a husband to all his 16,108 wives, to all his sons and daughters, is also exemplary. One can read about it in the Srimad Bhagavatam or in the Krishna book. That is a summarized version of Srimad Bhagavatam written by Srila Prabhupada. Amazing book. I would recommend everyone to read it to understand how Krishna performed his pastimes when he was here on earth. Amazing. So, what we see from this shloka is that Krishna is trying to tell Arjun that there is nothing that I need to do in the 3 worlds. I can just sit idle and, just enjoy myself. But still, when I come to earth, for the people in general to follow my example, I will, do my duties the way they need to be done. And so, Arjun, for you also, it is advisable that you don't think about leaving the battlefield and going to the forest. Don't chicken out like that, because it's not befitting you. Even though internally you may be renounced, even though internally you may be a sannyasi, it doesn't matter to you whether you win the battle, you don't win the battle, whether you get the kingdom or you don't get the kingdom, but still you must fight to set an example. Because if today you leave the battlefield, tomorrow the people will say, okay, Arjun also left the battlefield and went away to the forest, and they may do it to escape their duties rather than the fact that they are renounced. Just to escape from their duty, they might follow your example. So don't do that, Arjun, right? So do your duties well, and that is how you can lead the society. So with this shloka, which is a great lesson to all of us, even though we may be following the path of bhakti, and you see, many times when we are told to do our duties, we get this into our mind that okay, we are doing our duties well, we are doing karma yoga. You see, actually karma yoga is very, very misinterpreted. People think that karma yoga means just going for your job, earning money, looking after your household, bringing up your children, making them study, giving them a career. That's my duty, so I'm doing that, and we'll come to Krishna consciousness later in our lives when we are old. We'll come to that later. It has to become, it has to be done later. But actually, when we see what are the prescribed duties for all of us in the Vedic scriptures, because when it is said do your duty, doesn't mean do anything that comes to your mind, or don't do anything that you think is the duty. There are prescribed duties in the Vedas. Krishna has told us, he's given us certain set of duties to perform, and therefore karma yoga means to follow the injunctions of the Vedic scriptures, to do what Vedas tell us to do. And the Vedas tell us to perform all our duties. Of course, these set of duties of bringing up our children and looking after our households is definitely one set of duties. These set of duties are termed as the occupational duties. These are the duties of our body. We are doing our duties towards our spouses, our children, because they are related to us by our body. These are the byproducts of our body. But what about the soul? Actually, we are not bodies. This body is only temporary, and therefore the relationships of the body are also temporary. Of course, it doesn't mean to neglect these relationships, right? But at the same time, we must do the duty of the soul, right? So, what is the duty of the soul? The soul is a part of Krishna, which means therefore we are related to Krishna eternally. And if we are doing only the duty of our body and not doing the duty of our soul, it's only very, very temporary and very, very incomplete part of our functions. And therefore, we must do our duty to Krishna as a duty of our soul, which is called our constitutional duty. That duty is to always be, always serve Krishna in one or the other way. So that means actually from childhood itself, we must connect ourselves to Krishna. We must try to understand what Krishna is telling us in Bhagavad Gita. We must try to understand what are the injunctions given to us by him. In fact, we must try to learn about who Krishna is and how, a child, if he doesn't know anything about his father, can't be anything, worse than him. So for us not to know about Krishna is not nice. We need to know about Krishna. We need to know how we are related to Krishna and how must we serve him in order to please him. That is our constitutional duty. And that, when combined with the occupational duty, constitutional duty plus occupational duty, that becomes karma yoga, not just the duties of the body. So with that thought, with that to mull over through the rest of the week, we will now take your leave, and let's not stop chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because that's a part of our constitutional duty. Chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra connects us to Krishna, and therefore we must chant it sincerely. We must chant it as many number of times as we can. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Please do chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because this is what will make us really happy, really blissful in our present lives, and will also give us the connection with Krishna, which we must maintain for our eternal constitution.